Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Mind Matters, Navigating Head Injuries and Concussions. I'm your host, Kylie Como. I'm the legal nurse consultant here with Shane Smith Law, and today we're fortunate to be joined again by our friend Angela Lee Tucker.
Hi, y'all.
If you haven't watched or listened to that first episode with Angela, I would highly encourage you to go back and do that. Angela offered up some great insights into her experiences recovering from her own TBI, and she provided some practical tips to our audience members who might be dealing with TBI themselves. And I know you're going to find that very insightful and interesting. All right, Angela, I think today we're going to kind of continue our first conversation and really get into your experiences with your work toward finding, your way in this, and I use a dirty word, the new normal of life after a TBI.
New normal is accepted, but don't just drop normal. That's terrible. That's nasty. New normal is appropriate.
So, Angela, so many TBI survivors find it, difficult to feel kind of accepted after, by others, whether it's family, friends, or even themselves after their injury. How did you find acceptance, and was there any particular moment of realization that made a difference for you?
That's an excellent question. I took a lot of classes at Unity of New York City and Unity of the Blue Ridge, and one of my favorite lessons I learned was, and I still apply it to this day, is it's none of my business what anybody else thinks about me.
Okay.
That takes a lot of worry, anxiety, stress. It's none of my business what others think about me.
I'm sure there's still that inner voice that's kind of clamoring for feeling that acceptance, right? How did that work for you? Or did you just throw it to the wind and be like, I am who I am, and that's how it's going to be?
Well, that was my experience, but that's not very helpful for others who are like, who the hell can throw it to the wind? So let's see. I do recommend going on YouTube and searching for the Brain Injury Advisory Council. We have some very cool videos on YouTube. It's lots of strategies and techniques like how to deal with family who don't understand the new us, and so that there's probably a video that answers this question on YouTube. Oh, and by the way, you said earlier, or maybe it was the last episode, and I'd like to reiterate, when you've seen one brain injury, you've seen one brain injury.
Yes.
No solution or technique or skill or strategy is going to work for everyone else. Mm-hmm. And I gave a lot of good tips and techniques, and they work for me, but they might not work for anyone else, and that's okay. On this journey, we just gather whatever morsels of information we find along our journey, and take what works and let go of what doesn't serve us.
You've touched on some important pieces, I think, that helped you get there. You had your support team around you. Yours were family. Some people it's going to be friends. Some maybe it's colleagues, coworkers, or all of the above, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That starts with that. You get in the right therapies, finding what works for you as far as the healing journey. And I think, once you can get into that rhythm, I feel like you seemed like, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, that new you kind of took off. And I think that, that acceptance was starting to settle on you. It sounds like to me.
Yeah.
You talked about it in our last episode, and again, audience, please go back and listen. Angela 1 and Angela 2, you've written about it, you spoke to us about it a little bit, that identity shift after your injury. How did you really embrace that new self? Let's talk about that again for people that weren't there, and what advice might you share with others struggling with that change in sense of identity?
I'm still embracing that new self every day. Brain injury, as everyone on this podcast video knows, it's not like a broken ankle and you put on a cast and everything heals properly. Like, it's living with a brain injury for the rest of my life. Every day is different. And so I've got strategies and techniques and tools that make me live this new reality, that help me to live this new reality as normally as I can. For me, one of the biggest things to establishing that resilience and gaining acceptance was finding my tribe. A brain injury, whenever someone sustains a brain injury, it can feel very isolating, very alone, scary. For me, it was terrifying. So finding a tribe, a support group, my Brain Injury Advisory Council colleagues, the Association of North Carolina, who have tools and technique. We've got Camp Thrive coming up in October. Come on, y'all. It's going to be amazing. I'm doing the campfire motivational talk. I feel like it was really, really helpful for me to not only locate my tribe, but to engage with it. Because as I mentioned earlier, brain injury is very isolating. And so for me, what worked was to, once I found that tribe, I was try to create monthly outings, or I haven't been able to get back to that, but I'm going to try. We were the ABIS, Asheville Brain Injury Survivalists. And that's been retired for a little while, but I'm going to try to breathe some air back to it when we get our support group for the summer has taken off, but we're coming back in September. So we'll see what can come together in September. But so if you're feeling isolation, or sometimes in the very beginning, it was just me and my parents. No offense anybody, but so to connect with others living with a brain injury and to hear their experiences and to hear their strategies was so helpful. And actually, I still attend brain injury support groups. I'm probably beyond, but I go because I found them so insightful and so helpful when I needed it most, that now I've got some tricks and some stuff up my sleeve, so I'm happy to share it. So that's why I still connect with support groups in the area.
That makes sense. You again, kind of touching on the Angela 1 and 2, your new self, that's just part of who you are. You went from the person needing the comfort, the information, the therapy, to the person who now gives the comfort, the advice, the input, the mentorship, if you will. So that kind of
evolution. That's why we're having this conversation right now.
Exactly. It's why you're here, to share your knowledge. So
thank you.
No, appreciate it. That's exactly right. I'd love to, this is a bit of a tougher question. In your particular situation, you lost your then newlywed husband. You grieved his loss. I know that it was compounded by having to deal with your own physical, mental injuries. But grief takes on a larger shape than that. Grieving the loss of one's former life, is common, right? Your abilities, your relationships, future plans.
I'm looking on my bookshelf for my favorite grief book, but I'm not finding it right now.
There are a lot out there. And so books, obviously, I'm gonna ask how you coped with it, what support or community resources. So you're a reader, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, this is the thing with the double vision. Reading a book is different. So it's a expensive strategy I've determined. But for me, what works is I buy the book twice. I buy the hard copy and the audio copy, and having the author read me the words while my eyes pass along. And by the way, because I've got double vision, I need a ruler. So every book I have, I've got something to keep the lines straight. So having material read to me while my eyes are following along the line gets it in there, gets it in that injured brain of mine, and helps me to retain information. But back to the question you were asking about the grief. My goodness.
So you mentioned you were a VP, and then you weren't.
Sir.
You grieved that. Did you grieve that?
Overnight. Well, oh Lord, there's so much to grieve when you experience a traumatic brain injury. It's the loss of professional identity, loss of family identity, friends. I mean, my goodness, when my injury occurred, my friends were getting married, they were building families, there were baby showers, and that trajectory, I was on that trajectory. I was going to build a family. Bought a house with 3 bedrooms. I was planning on filling them. And so losing your friends,
yes,
family, professional, even my house.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to shoulder. And I think if I had to guess, you were one to lean into that grief. You didn't run away from it. You processed it. You went through it.
Yes. And listen, you can't, for me, I couldn't process it on my own. I needed a professional. And so I've been in therapy for, I don't know. So this is my 17th rebirthday. I guess I've been in therapy for 17 years. And it began in New York City weekly, dealing with tremendous grief and the cognitive challenges that I was just learning about. When I moved here, A super awesome guy, Dr. Will Hamilton. Man, he's the man. And we used to see each other weekly, but now we've dialed back to once every 3 weeks. And so I grow most, and I take, as I mentioned, my notes are extensive during those sessions too. I find that I grow emotionally. And, listen, grief still pops up. So today is the 17th anniversary of the day I became a widow. So I've remarried to an amazing man. Augustus is an incredible human being. So I promise you that love will be found again. There is an amazing love out there for each one of us if we open our broken hearts to it. And so he allows me space on this day, because I've been listening to a lot of music by my late husband, Rich. He was a musician. Augustus is a musician too. I guess we have our types. And so whatever process we find or feel help deal with grief. But for me, it was professional help, and I'm still receiving that. One thing that I found really beneficial is, for me, I tried to steer clear of traditional talk therapists. Like they're perfectly acceptable for 80% of Americans out there. For me, I felt it was really important to get a neuropsychologist, a doctor who knows and understands brain injury and the processing and the memory challenges, and for them to have a baseline understanding of what traumatic brain injury experience is like is so important, because they can help me process challenges in a very unique, helpful way.
No, you're speaking my language. As a nurse, my background is as a neuro ICU nurse, so we have a fair share of brain injuries, and those neuropsychologists, you're right, they're a very small group. There's not a lot of them out there.
That's right. That's right.
Man, they are good at what they do. Just being able to understand the structure and anatomy of the brain and what each of those areas of the brain are responsible for, and to connect it to how that manifests in your cognitive, emotional, everything else. It's an amazing field.
That's right.
A good nugget you dropped for our audience there.
Good nugget for you to be in it. Thank you for doing your field. It's so minute, but so valuable, so important. Love our brain injury patients. They are some of the strongest, toughest, most determined people out there, as evidenced by our conversation today. Amen.
So we're talking, obviously there's a lot of challenges with, living life with brain injury. And you're 17 years out, but if the audience is paying attention, she's still going through and going through the motions, going through recovery, seeing, professionals. Despite those challenges, what keeps you motivated to advocate for yourself and for others in the brain injury community?
Thanks. That's a great question. You're asking some great questions. I think it's so important. I can't expect anyone who doesn't know about brain injury to know about brain injury, to know how to interact with me. So I suss out in each individual interaction whether it's an opportune time to educate. I'm a big time advocate. So my most amazing first advocate, Karen Keating from the Brain Injury Association of North Carolina, she brought me to Washington, D.C. for National Brain Injury Awareness Day in 2009. So 5 months after I left the hospital, I still had a hard collar on. But she helped me navigate to these individual appointments that she set up for me. And I just sat in the chair and talked. And, my senators, representatives, congressmen would ask me questions. And I've been going to Washington, D.C. ever since. I think I missed 1 year. So when I moved to New York City, I encouraged a tribe to come with me. I think we were like 30 strong the first year from the Brain Injury Association of New York State. And then when I got back here, now I'm a lot more involved being a member of the council, the advisory council. We're pretty steeped into the planning. And so this year's was amazing. The new Brain Injury of America, Rick. So he's organized this incredible event. And so it is an opportunity for survivors from across the United States to come together on the Hill for National Brain Injury Awareness Day. and come with an advocate, come with someone who can help navigate the meeting appointments and stuff. But after you share your story and advocate on behalf of brain injury, then you get to meet the community at large across the United States, meet some of the coolest people. And so, for example, I don't, this is off point, but there's a mask behind me. Mm-hmm. And that's Unmasking Brain Injury, which was a super cool art project that Karen Keaton told me about. Unmasking brain injury is something that survivors across the United States have an opportunity to create.
It represents your own personal.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I didn't put this together, but the mask is orange on one side and blue on the other, and it says A1, A2, and it's a colorful, really beautiful kind of colorful line, and this was the coma. And I was like, hey, Daddy, I wonder why I chose blue and orange. And he said, well, you grew up wearing tiger colors because Daddy went to Auburn University. Oh. So I grew up orange and blue. I was like, oh, that's why I chose those colors. But this is a really neat opportunity, and I do believe that there's a website, I think unmaskingbraininjuries.org or .com. So if you're living with a brain injury and you're looking to just capture what's so cool about these, because look, I don't look like I have a. Do I look like I have a brain injury? But so these masks are an opportunity to demonstrate what a brain injury for me looks like. So it's just a neat project that you might be able to take a part in.
Yeah, I love that. I hope, again, go back and watch this again, audience. That's a great, I think, bit of information that would love to see you guys take up on. So I think that would be a powerful.
And you'll come to National Brain Injury Awareness Day. It's always in March. It shifts based on when Congress and folks come together and cabinets and whatnot. But the Brain Injury Association of America will have those dates released probably February-ish. Mm-hmm. And then they have blocks of hotels that are saved for advocates. So and if you do come, please tell me that you saw this, and yes. I look forward to shaking your hand. I really look forward to meeting you. I
love that. And I think, Angela, is that on your website? Will there be information about that on your website?
Because you just asked, I'm going to put it on there. I don't know that yet, but I'll figure it out.
Excellent. Well, I'll tell you what. What I like to do is, as we wrap up, I like to ask this to most of our guests, is if there's one thing, just if you could, I'm gonna put you on the spot, one piece of encouragement or advice that you wish you could give your past self, Angela 1, or to others who are just beginning to navigate their own new normal after a brain injury. Is there anything you'd say?
Oh, that's such a great question. That's a good one. I'm gonna read to you a blog I wrote called Happy Rebirthday to You. And rebirthday's definition is, it's a noun, a transformative event that creates one's second chance at life. I imagine most of you have faced a significant challenge somewhere along the way, whether it was a job loss, breakup, divorce, financial troubles, medical challenges, or simply surviving your morning commute. Take a moment to consider what that experience may be for you. Now I invite you to rethink that date as a pivotal turning point in your life, or as your rebirth day. After all, it's made you who you are today. Many people living with brain injury like myself have a significant date when we feel our past lives ended and our new lives began. Many of us long for our former selves and may sink into depression when we contemplate all that was lost. We have no control over the past, and there is nothing we can do to change the circumstances that brought us to where we are today. What we can change are our feelings about the injury and let go of the future life that we once anticipated. Imagine what could happen if you considered marking this year's monumental date as a celebration. Celebrating with you guys right now. Everyone is different, and for many, this may seem difficult or impossible. But after years of therapy and building my prayer practice, for me, it has become less difficult and more a way of life. My wish is that everyone can find a way to heal that works for them. On July 31st, 2025 marks the 17th anniversary of when my husband Rich Betancourt was killed in a car crash and when my healing journey with a traumatic brain injury began. I consider it my rebirth day or second chance at life. And as I said earlier, Angela 1 died beside her husband while driving home from a Yankees baseball game. Angela, too, was born that same night while being rescued by first responders and life flight paramedics. I talk about this in more detail in a chapter I wrote, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Recovering from Traumatic Brain Injuries. A brain injury is one of a myriad of challenges a person may experience that can be reframed into a perspective of second chance at life. Stowe Daly, the singer-songwriter from the duo Stowe Good, wrote this song about surviving cancer. I'll have a second chance to laugh and love, to sing and dance. I know it is a sweet and precious gift, a second chance to live. Reframing the date of a major life challenge can help us gain acceptance of this new reality. Intentionally choosing to change our mind does not make the problem go away and does not bring back whom or what we have lost, but it can help us shift our perspective from feeling like a victim to feeling gratitude. Someone might ask, how can she possibly be grateful for a car crash? One way is that I no longer sweat the small stuff. After surviving the enormity of what happened, everything else pales in comparison. I live with an entirely new perspective on life because it's so much more precious now. My second chance at life also gave me a second chance at love. My twin flame sparked into existence when my dear friend Joanna Prisco invited me to her bachelorette party. It was held at her aunt and uncle's Adirondack Lake House. Her cousin, Adam Augustus Frenzy, was asked to be the cabana boy for the weekend because he knew how to drive the boats, build the fires, and use the outdoor grills in a way, in his words, that promoted good lake party flow. When I first laid eyes on this tall, handsome, bald fellow, he was playing guitar in the home's great room. I was immediately uncomfortable because it reminded me of my late husband, Rich, who was also a talented musician. While the resemblance was hard to miss and threw me off a bit, I'm grateful I took a second chance on love again. Rich was and will forever be my first love. 3 years after meeting Augustus, while sailing Lake George on the Adirondack steamboat, Augustus and I were married during a 1920s theme wedding. I'm lucky to have been and be loved by them both. In Western North Carolina, I am here celebrating my rebirthday because of amazing work done by many people, including you. So I'd like to wish you a happy rebirthday too.
That is amazing. What a perfect way to put a period on it. For our audience out there, reframing, looking at it, about rebirthday. I'm never going to forget that phrase. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That's great. Angela, amazing job. That was really fun. I really appreciate it.
I've really enjoyed this conversation.
I'm glad.
You asked some tough ones. I really appreciate you're inviting me to reflect and dive deep. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's. I think that's what our audience needs, somebody to get real. So thanks again. Much appreciated. So, well, that's a wrap for this episode of Mind Matters, Navigating Head Injuries and Concussions. Once again, I want to thank our guest and friend, Angela Lee Tucker, for being here with us today to share her experiences, her knowledge, and her obvious passion for TBI advocacy with us all. Please, again, go learn more about Angela's journey as well as the links to her books and upcoming events at Angela Lee Tucker. That's AngelaLeeTucker.
Thank you.
.com. There you go. And on LinkedIn. Again, I hope our audience has really enjoyed this informative discussion as much as I have and is walking away with a greater awareness of what it means to not only recover, but to flourish with a TBI.
Amen.
Amen. That's right. Please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and to keep up with our latest and greatest content. And leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought of our discussion today. And as always, remember, if you're in pain, call Shane at 980-999-9999. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, y'all.
In pain, so I call Shane. 980-999-9999. In pain, call Shane.